In really the first big trade of these winter meetings, the Indians get Brandon Moss from the Oakland Athletics, Tim McMaster, along with our Indians reporter Jordan Bastian. And when you look at the scarcity of power on the market, for the Indians to be able to get a guy like Moss, they just give up one prospect. They got to feel really good about this move.
Yeah, this is a deal that they've been talking about for at least the last week. And, I think they had to be pretty pleased that they didn't have to part with a guy on their 40-man roster. They didn't have to part with a guy who was one of their top prospects. And they get potentially a top 10, top 15 slugger in Brandon Moss, who could step right into the heart of the lineup and offer versatility at a number of positions, corner, outfield, first base, maybe some DH. So it's definitely a welcome addition for the Indians, who one of the goals was to add an impact bat, probably through trade, and they did exactly that here on day one.
When you look at Moss, obviously, Terry Francona is familiar with this guy. They were together in Boston. How much do you think that helped as far as knowledge of what they're getting in Moss?
It seems like there's always a Tito connection with these guys that the Indians target. But, I definitely think that familiarity helps. I think Moss can already right away have that comfort of knowing the kind of clubhouse he's stepping into, knowing the kind of environment that Francona creates. So you don't have that learning curve as much, when you get to spring training and you start to get into this season. So I think that will definitely benefit the relationship just on a comfort level.
Now, when you look at the Indians roster, you have Nick Swisher, you have Carlos Santana, you have David Murphy, you have Brandon Moss, and then there's kind of that first base DH right field area. Does this mean that maybe they have to make another move?
They may have to make another trade, just to free up the logjam. The other aspect is Moss is coming back from a hip injury. Swisher's coming back from knee surgeries. So this is a situation where both those guys are going to have to be monitored in spring training. But before then, maybe guys like Rayburn, David Murphy, even Swisher with that big contract, could be trade bait and over the rest of the offseason.